Badge, badge. What you gonna do when it's hot outside? Ooh, I know what. Listen to Badge. What you gonna do when the trains are down? Ooh, I know what. Listen to Badge.
Hi guys, we're back. I got my 3 days in a row.
I know. I think you should do a tutorial on how you're gonna cut your hair for Patreon.
I might.
Adrienne got scissors.
I got scissors to cut my hair. My hair is just a little too long right now, and it's like I'm just losing so much of it because it's getting so knotty. So I think I think I'm just gonna like have a little fun. One time I let my mom I begged my mother to cut my hair when I was younger, and then she got scissor happy. My hair was like up to here.
Yeah.
But she said no, and then when she was cutting, she just loved the control of cutting, and she made my hair so short, and I was so mad.
That's what I think about hairdressers, because they really, when you're like, I want to go short, they get really excited. I think they get tired of doing
maybe the same thing. Also, I feel like they take their anger out in their haircuts.
Yeah.
So if your hair looks awful or it's really short, you're like, what's going on in your life that my hair looks terrible?
I know. I remember when I got my hair cut short, I guess 2 years now or a year ago, the lady was
like 2 years, right?
Yeah, it must be a while now. That she's like, do you want to have a little fun? And she gave me like a slant. And I was thinking, there is a fine line between having a punk rock haircut or looking like a cunt mom.
Yeah,
like a Karen.
I guess in her head, she was like, do you want to defend your haircut to people?
It's that so could be weird. Kind of fun.
Well, the Karen haircut was like my favorite haircut for like so many years. I had my hair really short for a lot of years. It was a little different. I had it also short in the back. But I was like, I can't even have this haircut anymore because everyone just assumes you're going to ask to speak to the manager, which I usually do. So I feel like it's such an appropriate haircut. Also, anytime you're dealing with people who aren't the manager, nothing gets done. So it's like, I need to speak to the person who makes $1 an hour more than you.
Yeah, and sometimes I think when you talk to a manager, especially at a restaurant, they're actually dumber than the servers because they chose a job position in that restaurant that pays less and more responsibility because they put you on salary and make you work more hours. Yeah, it's a bullshit job.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see what my hair looks like. I also need to dye it too, so I just don't care.
I know. I thought about that where I was like, maybe I can go on YouTube and figure out how to give myself partial highlights. I have tinfoil. I'm ready.
Okay, I think if you're going to do that, you're going to need assistance because doing highlights is so hard. My mom used to also make me do her highlights where you put on a cap and then you pull hair through the thing. Yeah. So my mom, you really need to have someone help you with that. I don't think you should do it yourself.
You get a comb and you pull out every other hair in a row, and then you put it in tinfoil, and then
you're not going to be able to see the things.
I know. I just don't want to go get on the train, expose myself to COVID, and then also pay $350 to get highlights. That only lasts, I don't know. I'm just tired of spending that much money on getting my hair done.
Well, I would say try it. Like, have Joe do it for you. It's just going to be hard to see the dots in the back of your head. Although, no one's really going to see the back of your head except for Joe. So I guess he doesn't care.
I never see the back of my head. I don't really care what goes on back there.
It'd be funny if you just had a sign hanging. Like, I don't know what my hair looks like, and I don't care. This is for you guys.
I just shave the back and make it look like a little butthole is back there. And I'm like, what? What's happening back there?
That's great if you had an asshole in the back of your head.
Like a little cat butt.
Oh my God. I feel like the world's losing their mind. I heard that Louis performed in with Chappelle. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think I overheard him talk, so I don't know all the details with Joe, but it sounded like it was fun, but then they would be all in a green room with 20 people just smoking and laughing and cheering that you're like,
oh yeah,
that can't be good.
That part sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that like Louis was on the show, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I think he actually needs those comics to bring him back out.
Yeah, or just like, I don't know, kind of like slowly introduce back into society. Like, it's really weird that there is quite a bit of a line of people that are like, I don't think what he did was sexual assault, and then there's other that are like, that is definitely, and I'm like, am I having a disconnect? Like, I don't understand why I don't see it as bad. The only one is like the one at work where obviously she went to an HR department where you're like, that's weird. But the others, you're like, he did ask.
I mean, so it's weird because we're comics. I think we're also friends with him too. So it
muddies the water.
Maybe I think it's like, you know, when someone sees something their kids in, they're like, I don't think it's that bad because it's their kid. But also from a just like trying to be objective point of view, if it was like another comic, I would feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
No, I agree, but I do question. I'm like, is it just muddy because we're friends with him? Like, if I was friends with the girls, would I see it differently?
You might.
Yeah,
I think you might, but I think deep down inside, maybe there's people who think somebody like Cosby, I don't know. I feel like even Camille thinks Cosby was wrong.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think of is that it was almost 20 years ago when he released his statement or apology. There was no other girls that came out of the woodwork, which would have been the time to come out of the woodwork because that's usually how it happens.
Right.
And so it didn't. So all those stories were back then. And then I just feel like, you know, people have to come back into society.
Well, you also have to give people the room.
Yeah.
You have to give them the room to change also. You know, so
Yes.
like I think we were talking about it maybe with Micah, where like I forget what it was now, but like maybe they were taking down one of the statues that everyone thinks is racist. I forget. Maybe it was
Robert
that.
E. Lee or something like that.
Fine, and then you're like, well, we're gonna take the statue down, and then people are like, well, it should have been taken down sooner, and you're like, yeah, but like it wasn't. So like you gotta look. A lot of stuff that's going on just in general isn't right. But then if things are happening that are changing that, it should be acknowledged. You know what I mean? Just saying like, well, that shouldn't have happened. You're like, well, of course, 9/11 shouldn't have happened. Like, there's so many things that should not have happened.
But we're changing it now.
Or look, not like I don't have the power to take down a Robert E. Lee statue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like being upset at me or you for this statue being up is retarded. So
yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I just think like if things are changing then and saying, well, it should have happened sooner, it's like, well, that may be true in a lot of cases, but you can't do anything about the past.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
agree.
So, and being upset at that, I don't know, just I feel like nothing that's happening is making anyone happy, even though I think a lot more needs to happen. You know, and like I just read something where a Texas real estate office wants to change master bedrooms. You can't use that word anymore. And you're like, well, okay, so that
what
also
about
describes
masturbate?
Well, then you're gonna have to say something else. It's gonna have to be choking your cock.
Or baiting. I'm just biting.
I don't know, but I don't think changing that word. It's like that doesn't actually solve systemic racism, especially in the police force. So it's like, why don't you do something useful?
Also, that master bedroom, I don't know if it pertains to master of the plantation's bedroom.
I don't. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't think that does anything to help the movement. I think working with Black people, hiring more Black people, doing stuff like that is more positive to me than changing that word. Oh, it's like, okay, so just maybe stop using cotton then. Even though cotton's my favorite fabric because
it's so breathable.
Right. So it's like, but people aren't going to take that away because there's so much money to be made off of it. But like, what a fake attempt at caring by saying we're going to stop using this word master. And
Yeah,
it's
it
like, well,
doesn't
what
fix
about
anything.
But what about also your master's degree? Is
Well,
it just
you're
gonna
like master can be used in another certain ways. It's just happened to use master also for like owner of a plantation.
I know. I don't think that really helps anything. I
Agreed.
think that we should be making changes, totally redoing all of the cop shit, hiring more black people, hiring, more black voices, get more black entrepreneurs. I don't know that that word does anything. I think it's just a failed attempt to put a band-aid on something. Like the person that's doing that is like, I'm not using masker anymore, but I'm still racist. Like it's just
of course.
such a weird thing.
No, it's kind of like, let's get rid of the show Cops, where you're like, I felt like that Cops was pretty fair across the board. It had all either white or black.
Also, yeah, why are you getting rid of the show Cops? How about you just show them attacking white people? Like, just do that. I don't know. It just seems
my favorite ones were the ones where it was white trash that they always busted.
Yeah, because they always would run. They'd always fall. They're never dressed. Yeah. I think somebody said that they think the cops actually want to stop doing that show because it makes them look shitty, which they are. Not all of them, but enough of them on that show.
I mean, I don't know. I never saw them doing anything weird. I don't think they were doing chokeholds, were they?
Maybe what we need to do is have everyone on the show cops. So then they're accountable.
Well, I always thought it's funny, like, usually it's kind of like prison guards. Like those guys are so close to just being criminals. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, because they start fucking the inmates, or then they start beating them, or they're selling them drugs.
Yeah, they're in the same facility, and then you're also like, if you didn't get this job, you more likely would have been on the other side of this.
Probably. I mean, I also could say that about some cops too. Right?
Yeah,
because they're
dumb.
Some of them are dumb, but also some of them are just have no regard for rules. You know what I mean? Like, I've interacted with some cops where you're like, that guy's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah,
he would have been a piece of shit even if he was a librarian. You know?
Yes. True.
But as a librarian, he doesn't have the excessive force and use of a gun. But some people are just assholes no matter what they do.
Maybe we should just make cops have to whisper all the time like a librarian, and that would chill them down.
And hand out books instead of chokeholds.
Yeah. Here's a really good book to help you to learn about how to get out of the system or whatever.
Or just a nice book about green eggs and ham.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that thing of instead of doing forced or kicking people out for no masks, why don't you just give them a mask? Because they'll put it on.
Yes. So not everybody has access to masks. First of all, masks are expensive, some of them, especially when this all started. They were not readily available. So yes, instead of kicking people out of certain places, it's give them a mask. And if they're like, I'm not wearing this, then you're like, all right, well, you got to go now. But we tried to help you.
Yeah, at least try that step. I had that. That's the thing with what is it? Is it Rayshard or Rayshad? I can't remember. Brooks, the one in Atlanta, Georgia, about 2 weeks ago, where he was obviously inebriated and he was just sleeping in his car, probably because he was like, I can't drive right now. And I'm like, what's so wrong about letting a guy just sleep in his car? To me, that seems more responsible than going and knocking on the window and then, making it seem like he's doing a crime at that time.
I thought that he was sleeping in the line of the driveway or something. I thought that's why they woke him up, but maybe not. I don't know.
Oh, I thought he was sleeping in his car. I'm just saying that
yeah, let him. Why can't you sleep in your car? We let homeless people sleep on the street. Why can't you sleep in your own car?
Or just be like, hey, you can't sleep here, and be like, can you just sleep over there, by the trees or something, where it's a lot safer because you're ruining, you're obstructing cars being able to drive through. I don't understand the confrontation of it. I just feel like some of these tactics could probably be, instead of confronting, it should just be more helpful. Hey, we just need you to move it along, or don't sleep here. You can sleep somewhere else.
I also wonder too, in a situation like that, if you had like a nice little Asian woman to just kind of de-escalate stuff. I never really see Asian women being mad or mean to people.
No. Well,
Is that can you make positive stereotypes? I don't even know if we're able to do that anymore. But I feel like if a nice little Asian lady was like, "Hey, just move your car and go sleep over there," maybe that would have been okay.
yeah.
Instead of having a guy that's like, I don't know, is it because they have guns? I don't know. But I saw something really cool the other day where you shoot at somebody and it's just like twine that binds your leg so you can't move.
That's better.
It's great. That would be amazing. I would like to do
Yeah.
that just to people walking on the street.
Oh yeah, because I think the reason why that guy ran is because he had other or prior arrests that if he got busted or arrested this time around, then he would have gone to prison, and that's why he resisted
That's why.
arrest.
Well, I'm saying, like you said, and I thought too, why can't this guy just sleep in his car? I've taken a nap in my car before.
I mean, I find that to be responsible instead of like,
It's also
trying to go driving while drunk.
Right. I feel like you should be allowed to sleep in your own car.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. What do you think about a lot of voiceover actors like Jenny Slate let go of her role on Big Mouth where she does the voice for an interracial girl? And all of the Simpsons, where I saw a black voiceover actor being like, "Don't go after me," because I think he does a lot of white guy voices too.
I mean, again, I don't know how this stuff really helps. I don't know. I guess if you feel like, hey, if you're in a position where you feel like you shouldn't be doing this voice, that's fine. I understand that. Step down from it. But at the same time, too, it's like I put some joke on Twitter where I'm like, well, I think that, we should have all the, like, a mouse should actually voice over Mickey Mouse. And, we should have, like, a sponge actually doing SpongeBob, but it has to be, like, a gay sponge because now he's gay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel like I feel like their heart's in the right place, but again, I don't know what that does to really further the movement. I guess unless they're going to hire black people for that position, that seems great. I guess I don't know.
I'm just like, be more inclusive, and if you can, that's the thing is like I'm in no position of power to like really help out, like give more jobs. The only thing I can do is when we do shows is book more black comics and make sure we're being inclusive instead of just like within our network of friends.
Absolutely. I think that's really the only thing that we have control over is just being more inclusive, taking black openers, or if you can help black comics out. I feel like if they feel uncomfortable doing those positions and they step down, I feel like that's nice. Like, I don't think any of them really need that money either. You know what I mean? So if they're going to
Slate's fine.
Right. I think if they're going to put black people in those positions and help them in their careers, that's great. I also feel like if they're stepping down, they feel uncomfortable with it, and that's good for them. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of this has to be like what you're comfortable with. I don't know if any of those people would step down if they were newly into their career, though, and needed the money. You know what I mean? So,
and I wouldn't fault them on that either. Like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Like, it would be a bummer, I think, in our position if we got like a voiceover and they're like, hey, it's for a black cartoon character. And you're like, sweet, my first really consistent paying job. And then you're like, fuck.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to get that. But I feel like if I get the voice of a dog, I should be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think what's happening with a lot of the inclusivity is cool, but I think changing that word doesn't do anything. I think if Jenny Slate wants to step down, good for her. Like that's the stuff that I think has to be personal to you too, where if you're not comfortable doing it anymore, then don't do it. Although it is a biracial character, so it's like she could have done the white part. Maybe they'll have two voices.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Two actors play the biracial?
Well, they just talk at the same time. One white person and one black person. They just talk at the same time to effectively address the ethnicities.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny Slate will be fine.
I did a Zoom show last night and it was 15 minutes. Isn't that long?
You had to do 15 minutes as your jokes.
Yeah.
Did
I was
you
like,
do a lot
that's
of
so long. One guy, what?
Did you do a lot of what else? What else was I gonna say?
Yes. Well, one of the comics, his Wi-Fi disconnected and he had to like jump off and then jump back on again. And I was like, can I have that happen? Like have that taken out of my time? Like
yeah.
I could just freeze for about 5 minutes and then be like, yeah, that's part of my time.
Were you just like dog, 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 dog? You're like, oh my there's something wrong with my connection. You should just been like, hey guys, I have to take a huge shit right now, but can you just count this as part of my time?
Oh yeah. And here's my closer.
How did you get through it?
It wasn't bad. I had all my post-it notes with the set list. I started with jokes from COVID that like I've been writing during this time. And then I had a few jokes that I started doing in March or the beginning of March that I forgot about until yesterday, that I was like, oh, I forgot I was starting to work these into my set. So I started doing those ones. And then I did some old ones and then closed on a tried and true.
I remember that joke you had because I'm getting my period. Remember that joke about your boyfriend wants to have sex and you're like, I have my period. And he's like, oh, can you blow me? And you're like, well, it's actually really bad. I'm bleeding out of my mouth.
Yeah, ladies, you can use that.
It's such a funny joke. Did you put that in your album?
Yeah, I did that one in my album, which is coming out soon. I think the pre-sales start next week around July 4th or 7th. And Joe and I are like, what is pre-sale when everything is digitized? Like, who's really buying it online before it's available?
It's so people get excited, Sarah.
Is it a soft opening? That's what I should have called my album.
Soft opening? That'd actually be a pretty funny name.
Yeah, because it sounds like a vagina.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of vaginas, I watched a documentary last night about the guy that was like that gymnastics doctor that like assaulted.
Larry Nassar?
Yes. Now I've heard about it, but I never actually watched it. Have you watched it?
There was an HBO doc last year about it, but this one I gather is more about the breaking of the story.
This one was actually about, I don't know, this was on Netflix. It was about the actual story, but him going to trial. First of all, I think the way that the legal system handled it was great. It was a female prosecutor, female judge. Everybody that was on like the legal side was women, and I think they did a great job. The judge let over 100 women give. Part of his plea deal was that they had to let all these women that want to speak and talk about what he did to them speak. I guess what's that called when you not testify, but like they gave impact statements.
Yeah.
And so I knew as soon as this guy went to prison, he was gonna get fucking beat up. And he did get beat up. And he also blamed it on the judge because he said she made it like a circus where she encouraged people to talk and say, like, because I think people in their impact statement were like, I hope when you go to prison you get beat up. And I think he was like, well, I feel like you influenced them, and it was like a circus. It's like, hey, dude, how about you don't fucking molest children? You're blaming this on the judge that you. First of all, as soon as you go to prison for touching kids, you're gonna get beat up. Like that is your actual punishment.
I like within 2 statements that he got, he was like, can I not do this? Like he couldn't go through all of them where you're like, no, if you can molest 100 girls, you can fucking go through all these statements.
Also, what's crazy is he moved and somebody told, I guess, the prosecutor where he was living, and they went to go look through his garbage, and he threw out all these hard drives of like kiddie porn. They had like, I think 13,000 or 45,000 images of kiddie porn. And you're like, what idiot throws their garbage out right in front of their house, especially if you're Like, isn't that insane to throw that stuff out in front of your own garbage? It's like killing your own baby and then putting it directly in your trash. You're like,
Yeah.
go put it somewhere else.
Or at least get a chimenea and burn it in the backyard.
Submerge it in water. I mean, I don't know. When I moved, I found an old computer and I just ran it underwater, and I was like, I don't know. I hope that works. Is that how you clean your hard drive? You just run it underwater?
Sure, but I'm pretty sure some people could actually salvage information from watered hard drive.
I mean, there's nothing even bad on it. It's probably just
Yeah.
like my bank account, which you'll see has negative balance almost all the time. So, but like,
Yeah.
what a crazy person. What I also thought was interesting in watching this, I go, there's got to be a dad that fucking went to hit him, and there was. They just didn't show it on the documentary, but there was a dad who had 3 girls that he must have molested. And he's like pleading with the judge for 5 minutes alone with him.
Oh yeah, Joe has a joke about that.
Does he? What's the joke? Because I like watching this guy, and then he's like, "Can I have 1 minute?" And this guy's so mad, and he just lunges for him.
Joe's joke about that is that the judge lets him have 1 minute, and then Larry Nassar still beats his ass, and he's like, "Okay, can I have 3 minutes?" Like, I didn't really get a good hit in there. But it's really funny because when Joe tries to preface that joke, it comes kind of out of nowhere because there's no way to like briefly be like, hey, do you guys remember that guy that molested the whole USA gymnastics team a few years ago? Like, most people have forgotten about that story, so you kind of have to do like a sad preface of it.
Well, what's interesting about that story is the first image on there when they start talking about it, it's in Indianapolis, and they showed a picture of Helium, which was the first place I was supposed to go that got canceled during quarantine. I was supposed to go to that place.
So why did they show a comedy club?
I guess they were just showing the downtown area, and it happens to be where the newspapers, I think it's right above it or something. So you see it. I was like, oh, that's going to be an interesting opener for when I go back there. When I go there, I never even want to talk about that case. But that judge was so cool. I loved the judge. She was great. She was probably older, like 60 something. She had like, her whole face was done up, like had a face full of makeup, fun lipstick. She's who you want on a case like that. Also, can't we just agree that that coaches of any team for girls should just be women? The doctors should be women. Why are we allowing these old, gross guys to be around people's kids? I think every coach I had, was a woman in like grade school and high school. I don't think I ever had a dude coach.
I've always had male coaches except in middle school for middle school sports, but I remember our soccer coach was a guy, 2 guys, and I remember a lot of the girls on my team had formed crushes on him and would flirt so hard with him.
Where they were like, dude, why are you not fucking me like all these other coaches are fucking the other kids?
Exactly. It's like sometimes I'd be like, that is so hilarious that you're in love, because he wasn't even like that attractive. I thought he was really nice, but it was just really funny. Like, one of my friends who was so pretty, she had a huge crush on him. I'm like, you're like, man, if he knew that, how it would be really hard to like respect that boundary.
Do you think some of those coaches go home and they're like, hey man, these girls are really fucking hitting on me hard. You gotta get these kids to call it off.
And you're like, I'm not even good looking. It's just the power dynamic that they're turned on by.
I had this friend in grammar school. I think we went to high school together too, but we weren't that friendly. Her name was Deborah DeLuca, and as a kid, every girl had a crush on her dad, and he was way better looking than the mom. And even as a kid, I was like, what is he doing with her when he could be with me? I still remember it. Like, I just remember the mom being so unattractive. I think I even told my mother, I was like, why is he with her?
Oh my God, that's so funny. I saw this thing on TikTok where this girl's like, 8-year-old me thinking that the lifeguard that's 23 has a crush on me when he tells me I can go down the slide. Like,
that's really funny.
It is funny when you're like a little girl, like sometimes you get delusional. Like you're
yeah,
like, I think he likes me just because he's nice to you.
I'll say this though. My mom was not a great parent, but my mom always thought everyone was gonna fuck me as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, so she really never left me. She wouldn't even leave me alone with my dad that adopted me as a baby because she thought he might try and fuck me. Even though my dad was so emotionally unavailable and wouldn't even hug me, she was scared that he might, like, she wouldn't even let me lay in bed with him if we were watching TV. And as a kid, I never understood that. And she was just like, well, I never wanted anyone to have any ideas. I'm like,
Yeah.
I couldn't even get him to hug me. You think he's gonna fuck me? Like, it was such a crazy thing. That's the only thing my mother would never let me alone with really anyone.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't a great mother, but that's the one thing she did. She would never
She
let.
excelled at. Yeah. She's ahead of her curve. She just knew that people want to fuck kids all the time.
I guess so.
That
I
is
mean,
one of my things every year for Thanksgiving when they're like, all right, everyone go around the table and say what you're grateful for. And mine is that I never want to fuck kids.
I mean, there's so many people. It's mostly only men, and I think that's also something really to be grateful for that people take advantage of. Like, they don't not take advantage of. They don't realize, hey, I don't want to fuck any kids. Like, there are people every Thanksgiving who are just eyeing all the children.
Yeah. At the
And they're
kiddie
like,
table.
yeah, and they're like, please don't let me drink a lot. Please don't let me drink a lot.
Don't go in a room with them.
So, but there's so many people that are pedophiles that, like, I don't know, why are we not studying them to see how we can help them not be pedophiles?
Yeah,
you think
I don't know. There's a little bit of me that feels like empathy for them because it's a weird position to be in. It's like, it's not fair that they have that thing in their mind. Like, they can't control that. I mean, the only thing you can control is your actions. Like, you can have
Yeah.
those thoughts, but you can't act on them. But it is just like, yeah, you're right. Like, we should be looking into that so we can figure out how to fix them. But it might be from what I gather, it's unfixable. Once it's there, it's always there. You just have to work on not fulfilling those thoughts.
I think, as a kid, my mom had, I think we could also do something that my mom tried teaching me as a kid. Like, I remember I wanted to smoke cigarettes, and then she was like, okay, I'm going to make you smoke 500 packs of cigarettes. Maybe if we just have these pedophiles fuck a million kids, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm done. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Is that the way that we treat it? Just throw all the young pussy at them they can get. And they'll just be like, ugh, make it stop.
Yeah, it's too much. Like, make them grossed out about it.
Maybe that's what my mom did with the cigarettes. She's like, I'm going to give you 100 packs of cigarettes to smoke.
Oh yeah. I mean, my sister made me laugh once because I was talking, telling her, I was like, I don't think that the one incident where this neighborhood kid tried to finger me when I was like, maybe in first grade.
You must have been a hot kid because you had a lot of guys after you as a child. I know you say that you didn't have boyfriends in high school, but I think your peak sexuality was like first, second grade.
I'm not sure if it's like attractiveness or just like, this one looks like she won't say anything.
Sarah, don't do that to yourself. You're very attractive, and I like to think it's that.
But I was telling my sister where I was like, I don't really think it had that much effect on me. And she's like, remember when you stripped for 4 months? And I was like, I guess one fingering equals about 4 months of stripping on the weekends. That my sister came up with a controversial, I think we've talked about this before, a controversial therapy for when that happens is as soon as you find out your kid has been fingered or like touched inappropriately by an older boy, just get her on that pole in a safer environment and just have her work that shit out on a pole
at like 8.
At 8, and then because maybe that's all it is.
So what do you think happened to me though that I was stripping for my mother as a pregnant child? You remember that story where I was stripping?
Maybe you worked it all out.
Do you think that's what happened?
Yeah, you released those demons. Your mom knew what she was doing. It's very controversial, her parenting techniques.
I know, but my dad was so upset by it. Like, that's the other thing too, is that my mom thought my dad she was worried that he might like fuck me because I wasn't his biological daughter. But here I am stripping as a pregnant 8-year-old and he wouldn't even watch. He was so disgusted by it, and he was mad at my mother. My mother thought it was the cutest thing.
You know,
My finale was giving birth.
See, I'm kind of on board with that because it's really funny.
It is funny, but my dad was so mad. Like, he wouldn't even talk to her, and she just thought it was so funny. And then sometimes I had my pregnant sister also stripping with me and giving birth too. What a duo we could have been on the road.
Yeah, you guys could have made some good money as a freak pregnant strippers.
I mean, my mother might have been into it too. She'd been like, they've been practicing so well. They know exactly what they're doing.
Oh my God, to have a stage mom for strippers is so funny. Like, while you're stripping, she's just like telling you to smile more.
She's like, you're not doing that split well enough.
And then, like, she makes your own outfits for the stage. Like, you're just like in a little cowboy outfit that she sewed together.
My mom actually is not a bad seamstress. That wasn't like what she did, but we did have a sewing machine, and she would sew some stuff for us.
I mean, when you watch those like little girl pageants, really, that's just like kids stripping, because they're always like doing like, you know, in a cowboy hat singing a song, and they were like wearing a like bikini top with the skirt, and everyone's like this clapping along with the beat of the music, and you're like, this is kind of kid stripping.
You know what maybe we do for pedophiles? We let them go to these beauty pageants for kids, and we set it up like it's those stalls for jerking off. So these kids get to perform. These guys get to jerk off. They never touch each other, and that's how we do it instead of fucking all these kids. Maybe we have to do something like that.
Yeah. Well, remember, we did come up with this is controversial, and I think there has been this was like a news article. This is like one of the first few episodes that we did, but a sex doll that looks like a kid for pedophiles.
Yeah, why can't you do that?
That way they don't fuck any of your kids.
I see that, like, that's the thing where there's so many pedophiles, and because we shun them, there's no way of helping them either get past this or have a way to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I think that we have to study them the way you study serial killers, and because it's not normal. So what? No. But there's also a high percentage of dudes that are pedophiles,
and so it's a system of abuse too, because they're most likely they've been molested.
Yeah, but like, why wouldn't we allow them these fuck dolls so they could just fuck these dolls?
I know. I think some theory is that it makes them want to take it to the next level, but you're like, a lot of them have already been taking it to the next level without that. So this could be a little speed bump for them.
So like some guy tells his friend, he's like, hey, I really want to fuck this kid. And this guy's like, well, before you do that, why don't you try this plastic doll?
Yeah, and see where you're at. And you're like, hey, man, thanks for that doll. It really did help out, but I need another one.
He's like, I was about to fuck my niece, and then I just fucked this doll to death all night. But yeah, now I'm going to need 12 more of these dolls. Well,
like a doll of the month club?
Yes, and you just said the different plastic dolls that they could fuck. And so, I mean, the commercial could even be like, hey, would you rather them fuck this doll or fuck your kid?
Yeah, and you're like, I guess fuck this doll. Can you imagine getting that for someone that you think they might like it, and they're like so offended that you got them a kid sex doll?
And then you have to just pretend that it's like a big life-size doll that you think they would enjoy.
And then you're like, you could return this for something else.
You're like, well, most people I get this for, they just, you know, they hang it in their office around their trophies.
So I thought it'd be.
And you're like, why does it have a big hole in the middle of its legs? They're like, well, that must be defective. I don't know, but there is, the way we study serial killers, we have to study pedophiles, because there has to be a way to help them not be pedophiles.
No, I agree. I think well, I think it should be looked into, or more studies for sure. Cause I was talking about this with friends a few years ago, and one girl, my friend, told me that there was a story about a guy that had a head injury. And after he had that head injury, he had all of a sudden a huge urge to like sexual fantasies with kids, and he wasn't having that beforehand. So obviously it's like a brain issue or like kind of like anything else like depression, alcoholism. Like I wonder if a 12-step program would help where you talk about it all the time openly with other pedophiles. So you're like an accountable, you have a day count, you know,
For
and
how
then
many
you,
days you haven't thought of fucking a kid?
yeah, or like haven't put yourself, and then also make sure a lot of those people, like we can ingratiate them into society where they can have jobs, but that they can't work around kids, or it's just known who they are. Like that way, you know, never to let them be alone with your kids.
Yeah, I think there should be more to help them. I mean, the problem with like a 12-step meeting is a lot of those meetings are in schools. So I feel like they're just going to get triggered during the
Okay,
meeting.
just Zoom
Maybe
meetings.
Zoom meetings, or you said that guy got into a car accident and something hit it.
I don't know what accident was, but he had a major brain trauma, and I know that there's a lot of interesting cases about brain trauma that because I had friends that worked in that field to rehabilitate. There's some people they get hit with, they have somewhere on their head extensively or whatever, and then the next thing they either can't remember a certain part of their life. Some people think they can speak another language. There's all kinds of weird brain injuries that happen that show up, and like the effects are really weird.
Maybe you just take a hammer to these people's heads and you keep hitting them so they don't want to fuck kids.
You just have to know where to hit it. It's kind of
Right.
like a busted up radio when you're like, you just have to slap it on the side
To get
and
it
then
to
it'll start
function
working.
correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could get somebody to help fund that, if we get some grants, I think me and you could do a lot of great work.
I think so too. I think a lot of people don't realize how innovative we are and that we could help society.
Just take a nice hammer or a sledgehammer or something, just keep hitting on the head until they don't want to fuck kids.
Work those dings out.
I'm just saying, we have a lot of great ideas. I have my big cup of coffee.
Are you going to Larchmont tonight?
First of all, Larchmont is my happy place. And if anyone
Yes.
is sad and poor and doesn't like where they're living, go to Larchmont. Don't tell them I sang. But
Okay.
Larchmont has bunnies.
I love bunnies.
That is the equivalent of pigeons in the Bronx.
Yeah. They're all over the place, right?
They're adorable. They're all over the place. I will just stop and stare at them because they're so cute.
They're super cute.
Adorable. I actually saw like a family of them where it was like, I guess a mother or something because it was bigger. And then there was one little bunny. It was this big. It was so small that I wanted to just bring it home with me. I wanted a white woman it up and take it home with me and raise it in my house.
I mean, you could probably do it. I had a pet bunny when I was younger, and it's cute, but then they weren't very friendly. It kept biting me the whole time.
I don't think bunnies are that nice. I think if I went to grab one of those bunnies, I would have gotten bit.
Yeah.
And
rabies. I guess you have to get it when they're younger, like take it really early.
You have to get it when it's coming out of its mother's pussy.
Yeah.
And teach it to not be mean.
So it can imprint on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're very cute. The houses there are amazing. You know, I keep walking around in the neighborhood hoping someone's going to invite me over, and that's how I can get in with this Larchmont crowd. It hasn't happened. No one has invited me into their house. Are
there people hanging out on the corners?
No, it's not the Bronx. People are not just hanging out in the corners. They're in their houses. But somebody said something like hate doesn't live here. And I was like, I wonder if I knock on their door and ask to use their bathroom, if they would let me in. I'm going to assume that hate does live there.
Where you're like, hey, I noticed that you said hate doesn't live here. Is it okay if I use your restroom?
Well, and that same place that says hate doesn't live here, they have in front of their lawn, they just have a big bathtub filled with flowers. And I want to be like, hey, I'm going to go pee in your bathtub if you don't let me pee in your house.
Yeah. I feel like, would you think in the Bronx, y'all's sign would be like, hate lives here?
I think I used to live on a block that was called Hate Avenue.
Oh, really?
It was spelled H-A-I-G-H-T Avenue. And then when I told people my address, I had to be like, Hate Avenue. And they'd be like, hate? I'm like, yes, hate as in I hate you. You don't make a lot of friends when you say that, but I always thought it was pretty funny.
I think it's really funny, and it's so on brand for you.
Yeah, the fact that I lived there for a lot of years of my life.
Yeah. Or just to
So-
say hate as in I hate you.
Yes. Also, though, so I'll go to Larchmont where these houses are beautiful. A lot of them are off the water. A lot of times I just go by them and I like to play this game. How much does this house cost? And I'll just like Google it to see. And then I come back to the Bronx and it's awful. And I'm like, hopefully that will give me enough hatred to just kill myself finally coming back to this little apartment.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, when I see extreme wealth like that, I'm just like, I feel like it just feels so out of reach. Like, don't you want to be in a position where you can buy patio furniture?
I mean, some of these people's houses are like, my favorite house there is I think $8.5 million. And I just want to go in their house and be like, hey, can I just see what a house looks like that I'll never be able to afford? Like if there wasn't COVID, I think I could do that.
Definitely.
But yeah,
like
patio furniture, it's like something that you, as someone living in an apartment, I will never have patio furniture.
Yeah, like I want to be wealthy enough that I can afford 2 window units in my apartment. Because right now, Joe and I just keep it in the bedroom, and now we call the bedroom the pool. So when we're hot in the living room, we're like, I'm going to go dip into the pool. And then we just sit in the bedroom for a good 5 minutes to cool down.
Okay, you guys have way more money than me. Why do you only have one air conditioner? I have 2 air conditioners, and I don't even have blinds that. Do you see my blinds? Because they get stuck. Can you see that? That they're all chopped up like someone ate them?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have 2 air conditioners, Sarah.
I guess the problem is maybe that we're lazy.
I think it might be that because you guys have more money than me.
Yeah. Well,
get a second air conditioner.
I'm going to get a second air conditioner, and then I'm going to work on getting Wi-Fi for downstairs. And I want to make a podcast studio.
That's cool. Definitely do that. But you're going to need an air conditioner downstairs in the summer.
Actually, you know what's surprising? It's really weird. I go down there quite a bit, and it's about 10. It's cooler because it's not, it's on the ground floor, so there's nothing underneath to heat it up. And then it's not directly in sunlight. So it's about 10 to 20 degrees colder in there, or maybe 10. 20 sounds like a big difference.
You can get one of those things. Did you ever see it? It goes around your neck. Kind of like, and it's a little air conditioner. You could just do that. And you and Joe can take turns with that.
We could do that. I think that sounds pretty good. I think we're close to wrapping up because we got to get to questions.
Ooh, guys.
But email us, vagpodcast@gmail.com, and review us on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram. We do reply back to mostly everything.
Yes. I'm working on figuring out a mic situation without having to buy a new computer. So I am aware that, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have spent so much money on that second air conditioner, but that was more important at the time. Yeah, I'm figuring it out whether I can maybe get little lava things, whatever you said they're called.
Yeah, lavalier, but it's
lavalier.
Close. Yeah, or you guys can give us money and we'll get the sound equipment or buy a t-shirt off of teespring.com.
Yes. Get a t-shirt for your favorite pedophile.
Yeah. Who's your favorite pedophile? All right, guys. Thank you.
Have a happy, safe 4th of July. Don't blow your fingers off unless you don't care about your fingers.